Truly a sight to behold. The man beat the once great champ, now a study in moppishness. No longer the victory-hungry stallion we've raced so many times before, but a pathetic, washed-up, aged ex-champion.
All right, let's go.
I think you know the guy. And I think you know him pretty damn well. His name is
Izzy Presley.
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 What's my name? Say my name, bitch!
My good friend, Izzy Presley.
Izzy Presley.
Izzy Presley.
Izzy Presley. Ouch!
Izzy Presley. Whoa, that sounds a little weird.
Izzy Presley.
Izzy Presley.
Izzy Presley, the heaviest, girthiest rock DJ around.
Hey, this is Jeff LeBar. You listen to Izzy Presley. Those aren't pillows!
Hello, Las Vegas. Hello, world. Hello, my loyal minions. It is good to see you, and it's always good to be seen. I'm Izzy Presley, and this is the Izzy Presley Show. It's good to be back, and as you know, I do this show periodically. I'm going to start doing it weekly, as I should, because we all know repetition is king. Hopefully get back to doing it live at some point, but until then, you know, it is what it is. Today, I am happy to welcome my good friend Dan Whenesota. He had a book called Whenesota, the 100 Most Heartbreaking Moments in Minnesota Sports History. And he's got a brand new book that is called A Slapshot in Time, The Wild But True History of Minnesota Fighting Saints. It is available on Amazon. If you look down in the description stuff here on the YouTube and wherever you listen to this fine show, that link will be in there, as well as the link for the fine sponsors of this show. Make sure you guys check out Vintage USA guitars. These things are badass. I'm proud to be a Vintage USA artist, and I love them. I love them. You see my Telly right behind me. I've got my Les Paul right here. Oh yeah, the Cherry Burst Vintage 100. Oh, vintage. Ooh, freaking love these. Check these out. Very affordable, and they are top notch. Top notch. I put them up against the Gibsons and the Fenders and all that stuff any freaking day. My good friend that has an actual 52 Telly grabbed that bad boy, and he's like, I can't tell the difference. They play the same, they sound the same, they're freaking awesome, and they're a fraction of the price. Check those guys out. Vintage USA guitars. So Whenesota's me coming up here in just a couple minutes, and if you are a Minnesota sports fan, you know all about him. Follow him on the Twitter at Whenesota. It's W-H-E, Whenesota. And I got to do this first too. I was granted a slew of Canadian beer when my band, The Smoking Kills, the band that I'm lucky enough to be in, Mike Dawson and The Smoking Kills, we played here in Las Vegas, opened up for the Killer Dwarfs at Rockstar Bar, and a bunch of Canadians came to town because, of course, the Killer Dwarfs are Canadian icons. If you do not listen to the Killer Dwarfs, you absolutely should. So James Vent gave me a whole bunch of Canadian beer and candy, which we all know I don't need, but that's okay because I'm fat and I'll eat it. But this is one of them. This is the Mill Street Organic Lager. So we are going to taste test this live on the air here. Ooh, I love the sound of a beer opening. And if you hear humming in the background, that's because my air fryer is going, and I got some shake and bake chicken in there. Ooh, so excited for that. Tastes like a beer. Oh, look, a beer. Should bring that gimmick back. You can follow me, of course, everywhere at Real Izzy Presley, all the way across the board, Twitter, Instagram, and the Facebook. And make sure you check out the Another Effing Podcast page, the Metal Edge Magazine, Another Effing Podcast, that is on Facebook at Another Effing Podcast. I know, really tough to figure out there. If you do like the show, make sure you go ahead and support either the sponsors, or you can support me directly. Venmo, Real Izzy Presley, Cash App, $ Izzy Presley, PayPal, Izzy Presley at Yahoo. I don't expect you guys to do it, but if you like it, you like what I do, feel free to, hit that tip jar, because we all know that is a struggle for everybody right now, and every little bit helps. We all know that. Coming up, I do not know what's coming up on another effing podcast and where we're going to get the next show on, because Paul Gargano is currently on the road with Drowning Pool, because he manages bands. So that's why there's not been a lot of that show recently, but they will come back. And I know for sure we will do the Listener Drunken Summit, which is the annual Christmas show where I get a bunch of listeners on. We get a bunch of listeners on and we debate a couple of records. And last year was awesome. Scotty, Lori, Kyle actually showed up. He was sick, but he showed up. When he found out Stephen Piercy was a surprise secret guest, we debated Rocks versus Toys in the Attic. I don't remember who won, because both of those records rule, but I know we will be doing another one this year, and I'm really excited about that, because it's my favorite show of the year, because I get to have the listeners on, and it just makes it a lot of fun for everybody. And so that's going to be awesome. Smoke and Kills dates coming up. As far as I know right now, it's still on. We are going to be playing in Dallas for the Corolla thing, the Corolla Land Cruise that they're doing in Dallas. And John Popper is like the main guest. And who knows, maybe we'll be jamming with John Popper. You never know. But Corolla live shows. And I think there's a screening of the K-Rock documentary that Corolla just did. So that should be pretty badass. So sure you guys check all of that good stuff out. Big thank you. Huge thank you to my friends over at 7th Avenue Pizza. They are not sponsors of the show, but I am making them sponsor the show because they are so great. And so I can't even describe the feeling that I get when they send me a box of pizza. 7th Avenue Pizza. You can find them online, but mostly you can find them in stores around the upper Midwest, and they are slowly branching out even more, which is good. God, it'd be so great to have those guys in Vegas. But they sent me the brand new 7 a.m. breakfast pizza. It is absolutely phenomenal. If you hit the YouTube page, you can find my review. Yes, find my review. And if you guys want high-class Dapper Izzy videos, those are also available. Just $20. Send me $20. I'll give you a high-class Dapper Izzy video, and I'm actually going to play one in this show. I got a couple stockpiles, so we'll get one of those on, and they're always fun. So make sure you guys check all this stuff out. We're going to take a short break, 2 minutes and 2 seconds, and we'll be right back with Dan Whenesota.
RockstarLeatherworks.com is your home for badass rock and roll gear. Featuring 100% handmade leather bands, watches, cuffs, bracelets, and more, Rockstar Leatherworks has something for everybody. Whether you are going to the show or you are in it, you can find something to fit your needs. Choose from a variety of designs or create your own masterpiece. Their bands and watches are second to none. They also ship internationally. Who needs a stage to be a rock star? Check out RockstarLeatherworks.com.
If you need to promote your band or business, or just want to stylize, personalize, or customize your ride, check out vid-decals.com. Want to create and customize your own stickers representing your band, or make your own bumper sticker? Vid Decals can do it. All stickers are printed on quality vinyl and can be placed on any flat surface. Stickers are an affordable way to promote your band or business. Go to vid-decals.com to get started. That's vid-decals.com. vid-decals.com.
Retro Arcade brings Minnesota and surrounding areas arcade games from the days gone by. All of those great games from pizza joints and arcades are available in cocktail units and custom machines. Dozens of favorites from your youth in one machine to complete your game room or man cave. Retro Arcade also sells and services your favorite pinball machines. Find them at facebook.com/80arcade. That's facebook.com/80arcade. Retro Arcade. Your youth is just one click away.
All right, and we are back. This is the Izzy Presley Show, the show that is back, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. We've covered that already. And my guest is a man that has been on another effing podcast before, and a man that I owe 3 apologies to. I owe 3 apologies to. These are big. These are big. Number 1, I stole his bit.
You did.
And shamelessly stole his bit and did not give him credit for it. The every time the Packers lose, the Packers lost again. Oh, that's a shame.
Oh, the Seinfeld one.
Yeah.
I'm sure I stole
perfect.
I stole it from somebody else too. So,
and then 2, that I waited this long to have you on to talk about this book, and I apologize about that. We should have had you on much sooner, but hey man, life is busy. That's how it goes. So, but,
it's actually good because I mean, we had so much stuff going on in the summer when the hockey season wasn't going. So it's kind of nice to have a few, interviews and things and podcasts while hockey season is actually upon us. So
absolutely. And number three, I was a doubter. I was a naysayer, and I was being a hipster douche when it came to air fryers. And now I have one, and I was wrong.
Life-changing.
Absolutely. When I reheated that glorious 7th Avenue pizza this morning, the brand new 7 a.m. breakfast pizza, and it came out like it was a fresh pizza.
Have you done wings in it yet?
I have not. I just got it yesterday, pretty much.
Oh,
so.
Okay. Yeah, it looked relatively new. Yeah, it looked nice.
Yeah, it is the Emerald 360. We've all seen the infomercial, and
Sure.
I finally got a credit card, and I said, screw it, I'm gonna bite, and I'm very happy about it. Now I get to.
I'll have to send you my wing recipe because
fuck yeah.
Restaurant wings are good, but I'm telling you,
I am excited. And actually tonight I am going to do shake and bake chicken in it.
Ooh, nice.
That would be good. So Mr. Dan Whenesota, welcome back, author and Minnesota sport historian extraordinaire. A man that is, you want to talk about commitment to the bit. The on this day thing is never going away, and it is awesome.
It keeps writing itself.
It really does. Okay, so before we get going here, I have to get caught up. Cheers.
Cheers to you too.
And
salute.
In the words of the great Stone Cold Steve Austin, got to crack one for the working man.
There you go.
Oh yeah. Glorious. This is my second. Oh shit. The fucking thing. There we go. All right.
Harry Carey.
Yes, very much.
That was a frosty one, Steve.
What? The book, it's called A Slapshot in Time, The Wild But True History of the Minnesota Fighting Saints. And it is by our guest today, Mr. Dan Whenesota. We had him on for his last book, The 100 Most Heartbreaking Moments in Minnesota Sports History. And it just never stops.
No, that's
no. And, but before we get into the book, we just have to give credit to this man because he also does these great YouTube series on hockey history, professional hockey history in Minnesota.
North Stars, yeah.
The North Stars one, and I am so sorry I did not have time to get some music for you. I felt bad about that.
Oh, no worries.
So, what was I would assume that when you were doing your history for the for this YouTube series, that's when this whole idea for the book about the
100%. Yeah. So, I mean, over I don't know if I've told you this story, but over the pandemic, we were all kind of dying for things to watch and binging things. And one of our mutual Twitter friends, Judd Zulgad, had posted something about the California Golden Seals documentary on I think it was iTunes. So I checked it out and watched it because I love documentaries, and I'm watching it and I'm thinking, man, there's no documentary about the North Stars. They came into the league the same year as the Seals did, and they're even connected with the Seals after the Seals moved to Cleveland, and then the two teams merged in '78. And it's like, they're really, I mean, there's all kinds of books about the North Stars, but there's no documentary, So I just kind of, I'm at home, I'm doing nothing, why don't I start why don't I make one? So I'm just, and it's nothing professional. It's an amateur one with
right
things and, black and white photos. And I mean, we got some, footage in there and actual photos from vintage Minnesota hockey guy. And, and I kind of originally broke it out into 4 parts, like in my head. The first part was kind of like the first season and the building of Met Center and getting an NHL team, a franchise and all that in the mid 60s. And that was, I think it was about a half an hour, that first one. And so then the second part I envisioned was the 70s, right? Well, in the 70s, you can't tell the story of the North Stars without, telling the story of the WHA, the rebellious league, and the Minnesota Fighting Saints, who were competing for players and fans, and they were literally going head to head, on any given night. Like they had games the same nights, and
right,
and just their story's incredible. And if you do any research on them other than my book, anybody who tells their story always tells it as an aside to the North Stars. Like there's North Stars book and there might be a chapter about the Fighting Saints.
Right.
And their story it needed more than a side story, a chapter, or a little, even in my film, I kind of tell it parallel along with the North Star story in the 70s. And I didn't know at the time if I was going to do a book or maybe have their own film. And it turned into a book. I started to see it in my head, the different chapters and things. And yeah, that's where it all started from.
What did you, I mean, obviously, when people think about the Fighting Saints, and especially, us folks from Minnesota, we all know about the Carlson brothers.
Right.
But there's so much more to that story than just the Carlson brothers, you know what I mean?
Right. It's really about, I mean, the WHA itself was, it forced the NHL to expand.
Mm-hmm.
It created more opportunities for not only US born players. Like at the time the WHA first started, there was only like maybe 20 US born players in the entire NHL in 1972. And that first Fighting Saints team had I think it was 13 or 14, not only US players, but Minnesotans. So not did the WHA force the NHL to expand and create more opportunities for US born players, it created opportunities for Minnesotans that may not have ever gotten a second look.
Right.
Right.
So
Minnesota story. I mean, even on the other WHA teams, there was always a few Minnesotans on their team. So really our story.
We do have to talk about the Carlsons. Was there any point, because I know Jack was supposed to be in Slapshot, and he couldn't because he ended up playing for the North Stars. Correct?
No, actually, it was. Sorry, my side light went off there. My office is really dark. So Jack, when the filming happened for the movie, it was right after the Fighting Saints collapsed the first time.
Okay.
February 76. And excuse me, Jack's contract, I think it got purchased by the Oilers. So he was not, because they had kind of two-way contracts, the Carlson brothers. They were playing with the Johnstown Jets, which were the Fighting Saints minor league team. But Jack kind of was getting he got more WHA minutes than Jeff and Steve did,
right?
Because he was the fighter,
Right.
His contract got purchased out by, I don't know if I think he played with the Oilers, and he might have even played with the Whalers after that too, because there was some debate. Certain teams got upset that the players just were allowed to go to other teams, and there was some controversy about that. And then they made some deal, the Whalers got some players and the Oilers got some players, and there was a little negotiation with it. So
gotcha. So there was,
Jack did play with the North Stars later on in the 80s.
Okay. God, see, I don't know why I got that all screwed up. But there was points where all three brothers were on the same line, though, right?
There was. Matter of fact, the anniversary of it just happened. It was it in October or September? It was October. I think it was I want to say it was the 18th. Yeah, the October 18th. The Carlson Connection line debuted against the Edmonton Oilers at the St. Paul Civic Center.
Oh, wow.
They were I think only the second set of brothers to play on a line together in major professional hockey history. And we actually have a couple photos, or actually one photo of it in the book, which was a never before seen photo. And
oh wow,
himself was kind of he was like, God, I've never seen that photo of all three of us, and he was really excited about it.
How hard was it for you to get? I mean, we're going to get back to the Carlson stuff, but how hard was it for you to get the material for the book? I mean, with the photos and, you know, interviews and the history of it.
Well, the photos at first is really tough because you have to go to the Minnesota Historical Society. You literally have to know what date. Like, I have a newspaper research site that I use, and like I know there's certain photos that exist. I know what date they were on, what date the game was, and you go to the Historical Society, you have to have them dig up a box from,
oh wow,
you know, 1 of 1974 to September 1st, 1974, and they bring you this box. You open it up, you find the day in an envelope. In the envelope, there's more envelopes with the photographers. You have to pull out their little negative. I mean, it takes all day. It's
wow.
I mean, you get good at it after a while and figure the system out. But somebody, a Twitter follower, kind of turned me on. He said, you know, my uncle was the team's PR guy, Mike Lamy.
Oh wow.
So I connected with him. Dude was sitting on over 3,000 original team photos that he has preserved since the 70s. He had the original team franchise certificate, which we have a picture of in the book. But
wow,
never before seen photos. Like, there's photos of the famous Mankato incident. When you want to get back to the Carlson brothers, we can talk about that. But these people didn't think these photos existed. So once I connected with him, it was like, whoa, you know, just it was a treasure hunt. I went over to meet him at his place, and just looking through these old photos was just amazing. And he's a really cool, fun guy, and just, you know, a fountain of Fighting Saints history, you know. And he was for the Minneapolis Star back before that as well.
Right. And we're going to jump all over the place here because
yeah.
Ow! Just crushed my finger with my knee against this little desk. That did not feel good. Ow. Yeah, obviously, you know how I do this. I don't have anything in front of me. I just jump around and just kind of whatever comes to mind.
Sure.
But you know, obviously the connections with the movie Slapshot, hence the title of the book, is more than just the Carlson brothers playing the Hanson brothers. That movie really is kind of based off of the story of the Saints, correct?
Pretty much everything in that movie, I mean, other than Hanrahan's wife, happened. It all happened. So the Johnston, like the second or third year of the Fighting Saints, Glenn Sommer was trying to get a minor league program, you know, going, an affiliate. And I think it was his father-in-law was the general manager of the Johnstown Jets. And so they started sending players back and forth. And, you know, obviously the Carlson brothers were there. Dave Hansen was there.
Yep.
And for example, the racing cars, they literally had toy cars in their house because they were trying to kill time during the day. A lot of the fight scenes you see where they're climbing into the stands, that really happened. Trying to think of what else. I mean, and the story itself, Ned Dowd was a player on the team. He was kind of an academic. He kind of torn with trying to decide whether he wanted to pursue his hockey career or pursue something a little more academic. And there were rumors, even while this Johnstown team, they were winning and playing well, and they were advancing in the playoffs, and there were rumors that they were going to fold. And one night, you know, while they were out partying, he called his sister Nancy, and just kind of was, you know, he was a little inebriated and was telling her, you know, I don't know what's going on with my life and this team, they're going to fold. I don't know what to do. And she's like, well, you think the team's going to fold? Where did you hear that? And who's the owner? And he's like, I don't know who the owner is. And she's like, how do you not know who the owner of your team is? And that's kind of a storyline in the Slapshot. And so she decided to tag along with the team and was, you know, had her brother record conversations and and she eventually turned it into a screenplay called eventually turned into Slapshot. And yeah,
it's just that whole story is just amazing. And what I know, because obviously I haven't read the book yet, I haven't seen it yet, other than the covers. But you know, a lot of that, you know, what I've seen is in that 70s YouTube thing. Holy shit, I'm bleeding.
Yeah, and well,
That's
and
awesome.
Ned, I forgot to say this too. Ned actually ended up playing Ogie.
Oh, that was Ned.
That's
okay.
Ned. That he was a Johnstown Jet. He and they were actually, as the story goes, Ogie is based on Bill Goldthorpe, who was a fighter.
Right. Hence the last name Oglethorpe.
Yep. Well, his real name is Bill Goldthorpe, and he played on many WHA teams, but he played 3 or 4 games for the Fighting Saints, and a couple legendary stories there as well. But apparently they were going to have him in the film, and he was going to get interviewed by Paul Newman's brother, apparently, is the way the story went. And he had just got thrown out of a game, and he was in the locker room and he was drinking a beer and he was angry, and he chucked the bottle against the wall, and it splattered just as Paul Newman's brother walked in with his fur coat and got all over him. That was the end of Bill Goldthorpe's interview. Wow. And apparently that's why they chose Ned Dowd to play Ogie.
Wow. I didn't know that. I had no idea. I really had no idea. How many players are still around?
Oh boy, I don't know that number. Quite a few have died too. I mean, you know, they're trying to think. Wayne Belisle, the kind of team president who was, you know, during the wild times, he just died like a couple months ago. I know some of the other players have died, but the St. Paul Saints did like a reunion a couple years ago, and there's quite a few guys there.
Oh, really?
But I don't know an exact number to tell you there. So
right. So like the whole demise of the team, it was like they were gone, then they were back, and then they were gone.
Yeah. So the WHA, their business model was flawed from beginning. Their plan was to lure NHL players away by offering them ridiculous contracts. Like one of the first major signings, Bobby Hull, was lured away from the Blackhawks by the Winnipeg Jets. And that signing actually happened in St. Paul, in where the Wild offices are now. We've got actually film footage of it. Lefty Curran, the goaltender on the team, he was sitting on film footage of it. I'm like, Lefty, can I have that? And
wow.
Anyway, but they just lured him away with ridiculous contracts that, you know, they hoped that eventually it would, you know, make enough money where they could cover it. But it was a house of cards, and it was just falling apart. And the Fighting Saints, Wayne Belisle, you know, bless his heart, he had a used cars salesman mentality, in my opinion. I've never met him, because when I was writing this, we kind of found out he was failing health wise, so we kind of backed off from him.
Yeah.
Just everything I've read, he like at one point he was saying he had, like, you know, 11 balls in the air at once, and he was robbing Peter to pay Paul, and he had different banks, and, you know, they were borrowing him money as long as he had receipts. Well, he had that same deal going with 3 different banks, and was just, you know, it was like a big shell game. He was just trying to keep it afloat as long as he could. And in February 76, they fell apart and collapsed. And everybody thought it was done. Well, then that, like a month later, after they collapsed, the California Golden Seals were looking to move because they couldn't come to terms with a deal with the San Francisco. They were trying to build an arena, and the NHL gave them permission to move. So they decided to move to Cleveland because some of the minority owners, the Gunn brothers,
yes,
from the North Stars, they moved to their hometown of Cleveland. Well, when they moved to Cleveland, Nick Maletti, who was the owner of the Cleveland Crusaders, the WHA, didn't want to he was actually thinking about moving previously, and he had a deal with they were the Florida Breakers. They were going to move, and they had hired Glenn Sonmore to be their GM. Well, that deal fell through, and when it fell through, the Seals had already moved to Cleveland, and he was like, well, I don't want to compete with the NHL. What am I going to do here? Well, Glenn Sonmore is like, hey, let's go to St. Paul. And what's his name? Mayor, I can't think of his name. The mayor who was elected in St. Paul at the time, God, I can't think of his name. I can see him with the dark hair and the mustache. Anyways, he had just got elected, and he wanted to revitalize downtown St. Paul. So he was interested in hearing the meeting with the Cleveland Crusaders, and the deal. They came back and they renamed themselves the New Fighting Saints. And Glenn Sonmore had literally went out of his way to get all the players back and trade from other teams and deal away the Cleveland Crusaders.
Oh, wow.
So he literally, and in the book I call it putting the band back together, because that's what Glenn was doing. He was getting all the players back, and the Carlson brothers, Antonovich and Curran, and all the literally the whole team, and that's how they came. And they only lasted a few months here again too, just again financial stuff. So
yeah. How long was it between when they failed the last time as to when the WHA hooked up with the NHL?
So I think it was 78. So the Fighting Saints second incarnation failed in, I think it was like December 77.
Oh, wow.
I think the following year was when they started doing the negotiations with the NHL, which is a good story in itself, because a lot of the NHL owners were very much against the merger because they felt the WHA, they were stealing from them. You don't make deals with people who are stealing from you.
Right.
And it came, like, they had a couple votes, and it like failed by like 1 or 2 votes. And one of those votes was the Montreal Canadiens. Well, the Montreal Canadiens at the time, they owned Molson Brewery. And all the same people who own the Canadiens own Molson Brewery, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
The fans of those Canadian teams, the Oilers, the Jets, and the Nordiques, boycotted Molson beer.
Wow.
Staged a boycott, and that got the Canadians to change their vote, and that's how those 4 teams ended up joining the NHL.
Do you think if they would have held on, I mean, do you think they would have been part of that merger, and where do you think they would have ended up?
I don't think they would have, because I don't think the NHL wanted to have 2 teams in Minnesota.
Right, but that's why I said, where do you think they would have ended up? They would have with the franchise.
Well, so I guess I would liken it to the Houston, the Arrows. The Arrows were a pretty successful team. They won a couple championships, and they thought they were going to be a part of the merger too. And they weren't. I don't know if they failed financially. I think they were doing okay, and they kind of thought they were being told along the way that they were going to be into the merger.
Right.
Like, you've seen Semi-Pro with Will Ferrell, right? Like they were all they wanted to be in the ABA merger. Well, the Arrows were not included, and I think they got like or something like that. So I'm guessing something like that would have happened with the Fighting Saints if they had lasted.
You just think, though, if that merger had not happened, where would Gretzky have ended up? How different would the history of the NHL be had that merger not happened?
Well, and that's another reason that the merger did happen, is because the NHL had rules about underage players and the WHA didn't, and they had locked up Gretzky for so many years, and Messier and Hartsburg and all those, like in Birmingham, they were called the Baby Bulls because they were so young. Hartsburg was one of the Baby Bulls. Glenn Sonmore coached that team too. He was all over.
Of course.
But that was one of the reasons that the merger passed too, is because they wanted those young players in the league.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know where Gretzky would have ended up. I'm guessing if everybody had folded, he would have just become a free. Well, at that point, I think when the merger happened, he had just turned of age.
Okay.
So because when the merger happened, some of those players had to be redrafted, which is why the North Stars got Craig Hartsburg.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they had to be redrafted because they were underage, whereas Gretzky was not. He was of age, so he stayed with the Oilers instead of the other guys that couldn't stay with their team. So they literally had to part of the merger was they had to give up those young players and let them.
Right.
So Gretzky stayed with the Oilers. So
yeah, it's just wild to think about how different history would be had that not happened.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
I mean, I just watched the 30 for 30 a couple weeks ago, the Gretzky 30 for 30 about the trade, you know, and
Yeah. Yep.
it's just thinking about it. Had that trade not happened, you know, they asked him, how many more cups do you think you could have won? Oh, probably 3 or 4. You know, they went on to win 0 after the trade. You know, it's just so wild how history works like that.
By the way, I just looked it up. It's George Latimer was the mayor of St. Paul at the time.
Okay.
His name. And I'm sure you know that name. It's late. It's Saturday night.
Yeah. You've got a couple pops in you. I'm trying to catch up. You know,
I don't know what you're talking about. Teachers don't do those sorts of things.
That's right. Teachers are saints. Teachers would
don't
never
drink, children. Bad.
Drink or smoke or anything like that. So that's that Coca-Cola you're drinking looks damn delectable, though. Let me tell you.
Diet Coke. I'm watching my finger.
Diet Coke. There you go. How many players and how many people were you able to talk to? As far as
a couple of them communicated with me via Twitter. Like Steve Carlson's been really forthcoming and giving me some really good information, and Craig Hartsburg gave me a few bits for the thing. Most of my information came from research, and like when I did meet with players, it was more or less just listening to them because just confirming the stories, you know, and giving you a few side bits. My main person that I met was Lefty Curran. Another kind of Twitter person reached out to me and said, "Hey, my dad was the goalie on that team."
Wow.
But I'm like, oh my God, yeah, because I couldn't really I had really had trouble getting players to talk to me, and I don't know that that's I don't want to, how do I want to say it? No, I don't want to offend them. I think maybe it was more on me because, like, who's Dan Whenesota? I'm not going to talk to this
right.
Like, I'm a nobody. I'm not a media person. I'm not a journalist. I'm a freaking 7th grade science teacher, you know?
Right.
So I feel like maybe they were just kind of skeptical of who I was. But Lefty, I tell you what, I say this all the time. Lefty, he lives on the other side of the cities than me. If we lived by each other, we'd get into a lot of trouble together. When I met,
hold on. Time out. Oh, he lives on the other side of the cities from me. Oh, darn. It's a 15-minute drive.
No, he lives on the other corner, man. It's like 45, 50 minutes to get on the other side.
Well, you meet in the middle.
Yeah, whatever. Anyways, I feel like I made like a best friend. I mean, I pulled up at his house. There was a Jeep in the garage. I drive a Jeep. You know, he had a certain beverage behind his bar that you know what I'm saying? And he and we both say things that offend people and kind of just rub people. You know what I mean? I just feel like he and I are 2 peas in a pod. And every time he calls me, he'll just call me to make me laugh and tell me stories. Like, he'll call me while I'm teaching. He said, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm teaching, Lefty. What did you do?" Like, "Oh, you should go down on your prep hour down to the boiler room and have a cigarette or something." I'm like, "No, Lefty, we don't do that." You know, and he's a great storyteller. And it was the best part of this whole thing was meeting him, because I feel like I made a friend. Like, honestly, he's coming over next week. We're gonna watch some football together. You know,
nice.
Yeah, because he went to he played goalie for UND, and I'm a guy, and they're playing each other next week in football.
Okay, hold on. You cut out a bit. You cut out because I said something. You're a Gophers guy.
I'm an NDSU guy.
NDSU, okay.
Yeah, and he's a UND guy, and the Bison Sioux game is kind of big rivalry, and we harass each other all the time. So I invited him over next week to watch the game and make some chili and hang out. So yeah, I mean, he's been great. He's just been awesome.
Dude, that's so great. Isn't it cool? It's just weird how life works out that way. You know, I run into a lot of the same stuff with a lot of people that I'm friends with now that I never thought I would ever know in my life.
Right.
You know, and then through stuff that you do, you meet these people and they become very good friends. And that was through a Twitter follower. It's just insane.
Well, it was his daughter that reached out.
Yeah, his daughter. Oh, yeah. Is she hot? I'm kidding. You're gonna get me in trouble. I wasn't asking for you, brother. Do you want to do a documentary, like a full-blown real documentary now that you've done the book? Do you think that's something that could be feasible?
I do actually, and I actually kind of wrote it with like a screenplay in mind, to be honest with you. Like the introduction, I wrote it as like the opening scene in my head is what I saw the whole introduction as. Like when you read it, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I can see this. Like they're walking down the hallway, the lights are flashing,
right.
Big fight happens, and they're getting attacked by fans on their way to the locker room. Glenn Sonmore and Bill Goldthorpe. It's a crazy, wild scene. And but yeah, I mean, the North Stars thing, I call it an amateur documentary because
yeah,
really have a lot of interviews, but it's the story, it's the full story. And
right,
when I started making it, I kind of envisioned it as like a draft, and maybe once it's done, and I didn't realize it was going to take me 3-4 years to do it. But once it's done, maybe we start shopping the idea. Look here's what we got. We got it all the research done. We just need the interviews. We need to get, somebody with a better voice than me to narrate it. And yeah, I mean, I'm a reluctant author. I didn't do this to write. This whole project started with me trying to be like an amateur wannabe filmmaker,
right.
I would be the Ken Burns of Minnesota sports, so to speak. I would love to aspire to be that someday.
I say you do it. I mean, why not, dude? It's like, look, you were given this opportunity. Might as well. I mean, what have you got to lose other than money?
Yeah, I'm open to it. I got 5 more years before I can retire from teaching, so I figure along the way, maybe these books and this other stuff I'm doing, and I've got a few other irons on the fire right now that I'm looking at. Maybe it just opens an opportunity somewhere,
Absolutely. People want to find the book. Where is it available? I'm assuming
it's available
everywhere.
Amazon.com. No, the first book is available in like bookstores everywhere. This one was published, so it's on Amazon.com. You just Google A Slapshot in Time. Or it's available on the Star Tribune shop as well. The Star Tribune partnered up with me as well.
Nice.
Yeah, they were really helpful with that. So Star Tribune shop or Amazon.com.
Which book was more how am I trying to phrase this? Sometimes I lose words. Was more gratifying? Was either of the books more gratifying?
I would say this one, because the first one was more like just little stories, like a couple page stories. This was a full book with 14 chapters telling the whole story. The first book, I had a publisher reach out to me, and it literally fell in my lap. It was lucky. This one I did all myself. I published it myself. I did all the layouts. I did all the graphic design. I picked all the photos. I did everything other than having my copy editor, Jesse Pierce, who's amazing, by the way. I should give her a shout out. I'm very difficult to work with, and she was. But other than that, I mean, I did most of it myself, and that, I mean, when you put something out there, you're putting it out there for people to judge. And I'm not somebody who likes being in front of the camera or anything like that. But man, when somebody puts a comment down and says, hey man, I really enjoyed that North Stars documentary, man, that just hits me. I love it. It makes you feel good that somebody appreciates something that you're doing. And so yeah, the second one would probably be, I feel like I'm proud of them both, but the second, pretty obvious.
Do you have any other ideas? I mean, like the story of the high school hockey tournament or something like that.
Well, that one's already been done. David LeVake did that one. Yeah,
he did. I don't know.
He's a good guy, by the way.
I don't know if you know this, but like I have friends in Canada, like up in Toronto. Every year that there's bars that you have to buy tickets to get into the bar to watch in Toronto the Minnesota high school hockey tournament.
Wow.
People don't realize how big that thing is.
Wow. Well, David LeVake did a book called Tourney Time, and it's out.
Oh, okay.
By the Minnesota Historical Society Press, and he's actually been quite a help for me, giving me advice. He came to the book release party and hung out. Really nice guy. But yeah, there's a book out there, so check that out.
And I was going to tell you too that I'm pissed at myself because years ago I came across one of those old school Los Angeles Kings jerseys, the gold with the purple.
Right.
And I got it like really cheap. It was on sale for like $50. They were just clearancing them out. Right.
Yeah.
And I didn't know who to get on it. I didn't want to get Marcel Dion on it because
no.
So I actually had to put Gretzky on it, even though he never wore that sweater.
What was the goalie? Rogie? Wasn't Rogie on that team?
I can't remember, but
I think he was.
But you know who it should have been? Steve Carlson. Steve Carlson.
He did play out there. Yep.
He played for the Kings. A lot of people don't realize that.
Yep.
So no, Steve played for the Kings. So Jack obviously played in the NHL. Did the other brother too?
Jeff, I think after the Fighting Saints, I think he played a little bit more in the minors, but I don't think he ever played major professional hockey again after that.
Right. Okay. And how is Steve doing?
He's doing much better. I mean, I haven't like spoken to him, but I'm just kind of, he and I message every once in a while. And, we sent him a book and, he was really happy with it. He said it really captured the spirit. And, but yeah, it sounds like he's doing good. And, I don't know when his last treatment was, but sounds like he's okay. So let's keep our fingers crossed,
Yeah. And is he the one that does the Hanson Brothers Twitter?
He is the official Hanson Brothers account. I did speak with Dave Hanson. Well, I didn't speak with Dave Hanson, but I emailed him back and forth. He's like running the arena for the Robert Morris hockey program. And he and I have communicated a little bit. He sent him a book and he sent me some photos from like, there was a WHA reunion like this past month up in, I want to say Whistler, somewhere up there in Canada. I don't know my Canadian cities all that well, but yeah, he sends me photos every once in a while and things. So I have not spoken with Jeff, but Dave Hanson and Steve, yeah, they've been very, very helpful.
And yeah, that's a great follow on Twitter. He just posted a picture with him in a stack of tinfoil.
Was that like the Shopco or wherever he was there?
Yeah. Oh, it's just great stuff. Great stuff. Dan,
he wraps like all of his merchandise in foil. That's what
that's gold.
That's why he's buying it. But it looks like, for somebody who doesn't know that, they're like, he's loading up on the foil, right?
Yeah, right. Oh, that's brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. Dan Whenesota, you can find him on the Twitter at Whenesota. Is it just it's at Whenesota, right?
Whenesota.
That's what
Whenesota.
Oh, definitely not Whenesota. And of course, you can hear him get his shout outs daily on the Dan Barrero Bumper to Bumper show. The book is called The Slap Shot in Time, The Wild but True History of the Minnesota Fighting Saints. Dan, great to see you, buddy. Thank you again.
Good to see you.
Sorry we didn't get to this sooner, but I'm glad we finally did.
Yeah, I love you, man. I hope you're well.
All right, likewise, brother. We'll say goodbye after the air, and I'll be right back in 2 and 2.
Rockwood Saloon Authentic Apparel takes rock and roll fashion to a new level with their tees and tanks for men and women. They also make custom shirts, jackets, vests, pants, hoodies, beanies, and more. The Rockwood Graphics Department can design anything from your logo, t-shirt design, promo posters, band swag, and printed at great prices. From tour shirts and custom stage gear to killer threads for the street to the stage, Rockwood Saloon has it all. Rockwood Saloon, authentic rock and roll apparel for stage and street. World tour tested for quality, comfort, style, and durability. Check them out at www.rockwoodsaloon.com. That's rockwoodsaloon.com.
There we go. Dan Whenesota right here on the Izzy Presley Show. We'll be back. I don't know when, but soon. Hopefully sooner than later. Once I get my schedule all worked out, where I actually have my nights off. And we can actually do this more often than not. So anyways, it's good to see everybody. Please support the sponsors. And please support the show. You can find it anywhere that you do find your audio podcasts, or if you just like looking at me, because I have ears. I'm looking at myself right now and I'm getting lost in my eyes, but the video is always fun as well. So all right, we'll see you guys soon. My name is Izzy Presley. What I lack in talent, I make up for in, well, you know the rest. See ya.